All right, it is time for Friday Reads. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you this video. In my Friday Reads video, I share a little bit about how my reading has been going, including what I've finished, what I've started, and anything interesting that I'm carrying over week to week. And as always, I have a little bit of everything. So we shall start, again, as always, with the finishers. So one book that I finished that I'm very, very happy to have completed is Vet in Harness by James Herriot. This is the fourth book in the All Creatures Great and Small series, which is nonfiction memoirs about a veterinarian set in the 30s and 40s. I don't know how long the series goes. One thing that's interesting about this series is that it's written reflectively. So I think this one came out in the 70s. So sometimes he talks about, now we have blah, 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 blah. Now the treatment for this is blah, 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 blah. And or back then we blah, 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 blah. So it's kind of interesting to have that reflective look, but then also like it's as many years has gone by now since it was published as it was between it was published and it actually happened. So it's kind of interesting. Not that I know about what's going on in veterinarian science right now. Veterinarian science? Yeah. I don't have a huge knowledge of that, which is one of the reasons why I enjoy the book. Yeah, I'm really happy to have finished this one. I'm reading this because, well, one, I'm enjoying them, but also because I started watching the TV series, the redux of the TV series, and they have so far two seasons, and each season matches up to two of the books. And for book to TV adaptations, I always like to watch the TV series first or season first and then read the book. So this catches me up to date. This gets to the point at the end of season 2. More or less, there are some things that feel a little earlier or a little ahead, but generally speaking, I can see the season 2 sort of leads up to where this leads up to, so that makes sense, which gets me up to date. So these are really just small vignettes on different, often trips to farms, or when animals are brought in, vet practice stuff. And I really enjoy it. So there is some challenging stuff with animals, so just keep that in mind if it's a series that you pick up, but I always felt like things are dealt kindly. He is a very kind author, protagonist, and the care of the animal is very much at the forefront of his mind. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed it. One thing that was a bit different about this one, and possibly the third one, is the first two felt very much like each chapter was one vignette, and I think that since then they've broken out to more chapters, and sometimes one story will be told over two chapters, like one, this dog was brought in and they had a problem with this, and they tell half the story in one chapter and half the story in the second chapter. I'm not sure what the change was. I preferred it the other way, but once I picked up on that's what was going on, I just paced myself to read 2 chapters when I read it instead of 1, and it ended up being fine. So I am complete in terms of what I'm reading, in terms of what matches up to the TV series. That being said, one of the books on my currently reading from last year is the audiobook for book 1 and 2, which is narrated by the lead actor from the show. That one is the one that now is sort of like in the balance that I need to get to, which is why I'm really happy that I finished this, because I want to listen to the audio, and I'm actually going to get it from the library. As we speak, it is being transferred to my home branch, and I should be able to pick it up the next time I pick up my library holds. I'm a little unsure about being able to listen to a 15-hour audiobook in time to return it. There are a fair amount of copies, so I imagine I will be able to renew it, but I just don't listen to a lot of audiobooks, and it's like a player, like a play-away type thing, and so finding when to listen to it and how to make that go, that'll be a challenge for another day. And but I'm happy that I've read this, so I can now go back and listen to book 1 and 2. And I probably will only listen to book 1 and 2. I don't know if there's 3 and 4, but I think I'm just gonna leave it there. That's a lot of All Creatures Great and Small for 1 year. I think I rewatched season 1, watched season 2, and read book 3 and now book 4, and now I'll re-listen to book 1 and 2. That's enough for 1 year. That's enough. That'll hit my goals. So that was a finish finished. I also finished from the library Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume. This is a reread for me. This is a book that I read when I was a kid, and it took me a fair amount of time to get to it, but that's more because I haven't been prioritizing my library reads, which is something I'll probably talk about in another video or at the end of this one, depending on how long it goes. But yeah, so this is a contemporary, I don't know, like teen classic, I would say. It's a zeitgeist title. It was one that was one that I read when I was a kid, and it deals with a lot of preteen things, whether they be social or health related, but I remembered all of those very clearly from when I first read it, but I did not remember from first read, which you might be able to pick up on from the title, is that there's actually a fair amount of religious content in this one, and that comes from the fact that Margaret is, like, the story is Margaret moves to a new neighborhood, so it's a new girl in town situation. She finds a new friend group, and then there's like social stuff and preteen stuff. But then also one of the things that happens is one of her friends asks her what religion she is, and she says, I'm no religion, and that sort of sets her on a bit of a journey of self-discovery, which is not a term that came out. I don't think they used it in 1970 when this book came out, but it does, because her parents are her mom's family is Christian, her dad's family is Jewish. When they got together, it did not go over well with everyone, and so they don't practice any religion. And so Margaret decides to explore both Christianity and Judaism and throughout the story, and they say that her parents tell her it's up to her to decide when she's an adult, what religion she wants to follow, if any. And I feel like just from that, I feel like this, I never would have thought of it at the time because it just seemed very normal, but I imagine that this book gets challenged a lot. I imagine in the States, it's not something I think that would ever get challenged here. Canada has very more open, when I look at the books that are challenged or banned, I'm like, it's very few. I often have a tough time when there's a readathon, and that's one of the things, is to find something that's challenged and banned. In terms of something that was challenged and banned in Canada, this would not be here. But I think it's an interesting question, and it's something that she takes seriously and she explores and thinks about and struggles with, and I think it's great. I think it's a great book from both of those perspectives. First, the social dynamics, teen, puberty stuff is great, and she's also, Margaret's not perfect, right? One of the things that I really appreciated from the reread was being able to see, her, sometimes she struggled, sometimes she made assumptions, she had to come to terms with the things that she did or said, and think about it. Some things got sort of glazed over, but not much, to be honest. But the one thing that I can think about, I'm like, it probably didn't. It's not and she's not perfect. She's just she just is doing her best and curious about things and worried about things, and she's emotional because it's an emotional time and there's a lot going on. So, but it's just really interesting that I remembered all of the sort of preteen stuff and none of the religious content, and I will say that some of the family stuff was tough, but I also loved her grandmother, her dad's mom. Oh my god, she loved Margaret so much, so that was really, really special, and I didn't remember that at all from first read. So you can get a lot from rereading, and I really felt like I got a lot from rereading that, so that was really interesting. And I feel like that's not a perspective that we see a lot, a kid being allowed or encouraged to make up their own decisions on anything, albeit religion. That's a pretty, it feels, oddly, it feels way more forward today than when I read it back in the day. So yeah, interesting. Okay, what else did I finish? On a much lighter note from the library, I also read Kitty and the Moonlight Rescue by Paula Harrison, with illustrated by Jenny, Løvlie? Not sure how you pronounce Løvlie, maybe? And this is just a super cute book about a girl whose mom is a superhero, and one day a cat comes to the window and asks her, I need help. And Kitty's like, but I'm not a superhero. And the cat's like, but I need you to help me. And she's like, okay. And then she goes and helps this cat who needs help. Like, so, and this is her family. That's her mom as a superhero. It's the cutest, honestly. It's very easy read. And I am looking forward to enjoying the whole series. This is a great meet Kitty, girl by day, cat by night, ready for adventure. And there really is adventure. There is a sense of adventure in this one, including helping, including danger, including trying to go beyond what you think you can do. I thought it was excellent. I can't wait to read more. So that's another book that I finished. Tick. And then in terms of what I've started this week, I actually have finished a lot of the things I've started. I've been reading a lot of shorter works, but I didn't do a video last week, so sorry about that. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of this one. It's just a very busy week, and I wasn't up to it, so it didn't happen. And I don't have any extra videos. Usually I try and keep a couple of extra tags and stuff like that in case I can't post, but I don't have anything. I've run out, so I have to do some of that. But anyway, in terms of what I started, one book I've started is Sword of Darkness by Kinley MacGregor, which is a pseudonym for Sherilyn Kenyon. This is the first in the Lords of Avalon series, which is part of the Dark Hunters series or Dark Hunters universe. I am buddy reading this with Anita. It's a paranormal romance that's historical, set in sort of like an alternate Arthurian universe, and there's some speculative fiction elements to it. There's some paranormal elements to it that are cool. There's some speculative fiction stuff in it, but I think the speculative fiction stuff is like purely just to have some like zeitgeist things. Anyway, I gotta say I'm not loving this. The male protagonist, it's a male-female romance, and the male protagonist is not a likable character in any way, shape, or form. They have said some things that I'm just like, how can you say that? How can you say that? You know, and a lot of this series, the male characters have very tragic, very abusive backstories. It's one of the things that I'm not a huge fan of, because it's so consistent and it's so like kind of like it feels like sometimes it tries to one up the horribleness that the previous character went through. This one I haven't read tons yet, but so we haven't gotten to a lot of that, but I just feel like there's nothing likable, and I feel like it feels like a character that doesn't feel terribly redeemable and doesn't want to be redeemable, like just doesn't care and just is horrible. So like it's a paranormal romance, so it will turn, and like where the romance is going to go is always pretty clear, but it also has some tropes that I'm not very fond of. So it's a bit I was also really looking forward to this one because it's historical and Arthurian, but there's only been some Arthurian stuff, so it hasn't been the favorite of the week, but I do always enjoy reading with Anita, so that's actually been the highlight, and I'm sure we'll get through it. Hopefully. It hasn't been that long. And it reads pretty fast, I'll give it that, and but see how things go. But I just wish I enjoyed it a bit more. In terms of other starts, I've also started Heads You Lose by R.L. Stine. This is the 15th in the Goosebumps Horrorland series. I think I'm going to read this one, but I think after this I'm going to leave the Horrorland ones on the shelf for the Goosebumps for the summer, because they are all available on Overdrive, so if I do want to read them, I can come back to them in the fall instead of reading them from the physical library. This one I've only just started. I can't even remember. Oh yeah, there's a magic coin that is always, it's heads on both sides, so they got it from, two friends got it from Horrorland, and they like to use it to make sure they win bets. So far things are going to go horribly wrong because it's Goosebumps, so we'll see where things go. In terms of what I am currently reading or carrying over, we have the tried, tested, and true Les Misérables. So I am reading this one, and where am I? I'm on page 845, so doing quite well. This version is 1,304 pages, so 845 to 945, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I have 450 pages left, I think. Ooh, that's actually pretty good. Did I do that math right? The current section I read wasn't a fan of, so I'm happy it's done, but I'm only halfway through. I'm not even halfway through this section. I'm hoping to finish this whole thing by, I think, the end of July. We'll see. That is the current plan. I'm reading 25 pages a week, and that's been, fine, I'm going to continue to do that. Another book that I've read from this week is My Soul to Keep by Tana Nerivdu, and this is the first in the African Immortal series, and it's an urban fantasy horror drama. I feel like it's more literary than a lot of the urban fantasy and horror and paranormal that I read. And this one I am enjoying, and I think I probably will be able to finish it for July, but I am going to put a bit of what am I trying to say? So this is from my currently reading from last year that I've carried. It's one of the titles I've carried over from last year to this year, and I am down to, I think, 7 titles left, including Les Mis and this one. And I had this whole plan that I was going to read 400 pages a month for the rest of the year to finish off all of those titles. But I've come to the conclusion that if I try and do that for this month, like June, July, August, that I am not going to be getting very much to my library books. Now, I did read a fair amount of library books this week. These are actually all library books, so I'm happy about that. Still reading this one. But I just noticed on a day-to-day basis how little I was getting to my library books and how much emphasis I was putting on other titles. So I think I'm going to let go a little bit on some of the currently reading goals because I didn't think of that. I didn't think about the library, and I only go to the library in the summer. So this year it'll probably just be June, July, and August. I'll probably do 4 trips, and I'm like halfway through the first trip, and I'm only, I don't know, a third of the way through the books, and there's so many books, especially longer ones, that I haven't started, and I'm like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Why am I going to the library if I'm not actually getting to my library books? So although I am enjoying My Soul to Keep, and I will get back to My Soul to Keep, I probably will finish it. I think I've hit the halfway mark, so I think I'm now getting, feeling like I can finish it, but I'm also at a spot where I could stay here and leave it, so we'll see how things go. But I think from here on in, I am going to focus way more on my library books. I just don't want to lose that window of enjoying them while I'm going. So that's my plan going forward, is more library books. Yay! I hope so. We'll see how things go. I did finish a whole bunch of stuff, mostly short stuff. But some of the titles that I've requested, some of them are a bit longer, so have to shift the focus, and I think I'm actually glad that I figured it this early on. It's only 2 weeks into my first library trip, so that's fair, and I think that's actually pretty good that I noticed it this early. I was like, wow, I just keep on not getting to the other books. So I have read some, just not as much as I would want. Anyway, now I am waffling, as they say. So there you go. So it's been a bit of a busy time, and I apologize that there wasn't a video last week. I don't know if I'll have a video up before Friday reads for next week, but I do plan on doing a July reading plans type video, as well as, I don't know, I feel like now we're getting kind of past the point of my May reading challenge reflection, but I still might do it, but I have to do the numbers, so we'll see how things go. Let me know if you still think that would be interesting to see, even though now we're almost a month after May. I just sort of fell a bit out of recording, and that means some shifting, and that is just the way things are sometimes. So there you go. That's how my reading has been going. Let me know what you have been reading this week. Let me know if you sometimes have to reshift your priorities. I am a little worried I'm not going to hit my goal of those currently reading titles. I don't know. Maybe once I'm done the library, I will only read those currently reading titles. There are always more options. So I'm going to try and not worry about it, enjoy the library, and see where things go. Okay, thank you so much. Oh, but I will be sticking to Les Mis. That one. 25 pages a week. I'm committed. I can do that. So, all right, that is it for this week. I hope you had a great week and a wonderful weekend ahead. Thanks so much for watching.